My point is the defence before he adapted was not bad. I think it was like 15 goals conceded in 15 games, which isn't a bad total. It's not a bad record, especially when you're as attacking as we are. Everyone accuses us of being completely open and all these different things. But, I mean, just the stats just don't bear it out. In terms of games we've conceded 2 or more goals in, that's 7 games we've conceded 2 or more goals. That's the same as Chelsea. They've also conceded 2 or more goals in 7 games. So it's not like we're way more open than these teams. All the others either been 1 or a clean sheet. So
you're telling me, and I'm when I say bad defense, in the early first 10 games, we were actually ball dominating way more. We were like really dominating the ball. But it just takes that one moment where your defense's mind's gone. Romero goes running, hole in behind, bang, and the goals we conceded were super easy. It was like mind-numbingly easy. Romero just letting Vardy stroll past him and tap a ball in the net. Things like that. So it's like, I was seeing dreadful defending. I was seeing Bissouma so many times just not getting back, not getting into his 6th role. Things like that. And that's the 2nd season of working with a manager. How are you getting this stuff so badly wrong? So fair enough. It didn't happen as much because we were really like kind of ball dominating, moving the ball well, which is great because of course you'd expect him to. He's had a whole season and a bit to get that right. But were we winning games with the ball domination? No. It's like, so what does it really work? Do you want a manager who plays beautiful front foot football, 70% ball domination, and then so fallible for one ball over the top and then bang, it's goal against, and you lose the game 1-0? Or I don't know if that's good management.
Sai, what do you think about Ange's approach and his tactics and that kind of debate? Do you think they're doomed to fail in the Premier League? They're just not a right fit, or do you think under the right circumstances it can work?
Under the right circumstances, which is what Gav spoke about earlier, in regards to having the right players to build that foundation, to build that system, which I don't think we have a capacity of the club as a recruitment to do so. It's not really proven, well, certainly since I've been a Spurs fan, really, to adopt players to fit a system. With maybe exception of like the 3rd or 4th season of Pochettino, where it kind of started to kick on. I think the fundamental thing, and kind of like listening to Gavin closely there, and I've watched so many Spurs channels over the last few days because I'm like, am I going mad? Like, is it just me? But everyone's seeing the same thing. For me, the problem is the adaptation is lacking significantly with this manager. Now, for their credit, Jose, Conte, other managers always had some formality of a plan B. It would be, right, we're going to Man City, we're defending, we're going to do the counter-attacks, we're going to do this, do that, whatever. Whether it worked or not, it's just down to, unfortunately, we've always had the lack of quality in our teams, for certainly the last 5 or so years. So when we've got a situation where, I've mentioned this already, that you've got a first 11 that is learning. It's fully on board in the summer. It's working to the formation, the tactics, and we saw that in a number of games. Yeah, okay, there was a couple of blips here and there, but you're going to get that in the first season or 2 anyway. Every team has done that when they've had a new manager with a proper process in place. So it's not for lack of trying, but when you get, as everyone's saying, really, is if you're playing this kind of game of intensity and high press, etc., you're going to have to expect your players to be very diminished, certainly before half the season's even concluded. So that's where you need depth. We don't have the depth. So as a manager, you paid quite a lot of money to assess the whole season ahead of you, as well as what's right in front of you. So you can sit there and you go, well, we can't. I said it in the summer. Many fans said this in the summer. There's a congestive period in December. We will probably struggle because of the lack of depth and the lack of quality that we've got. If we've got our first 11 all the way through this season, which is not going to happen, fantastic. We might have a go at it, but slowly but surely diminished. Now, you can't help that because that's the club's fault for not getting the right players in at the proper times and the right quantities over the last however many years to build this process, right? So the only option you've got as a manager, and I've been a manager on 2 occasions when I was in tournament mode, when we had like youth teams and things, and I took over a young team, and very much like you have to be so adapted to everything that's going on, different teams, different styles. I'm nowhere near a Premier League manager, but I do have the common sense to say, this is not working. Okay, we'll keep trying this, see if it goes. But after like 2 or 3 games, this becomes detrimental to points. So then, when it comes detrimental to points, it becomes infuriating for the fans. When it becomes infuriating, that passes on into the stadium. The atmosphere is dead. There's no enthusiasm. There's no passion from the fans at all because we're fed up. And then that ekes into the players. The players are now sitting there going, lack of confidence, poor passing. Again, probably comes down to the poor quality of the players in some instances. And it's just a constant loop. And that's when, as a manager, you should be sitting there going, read the room or read the stadium in this instance and go, perhaps remove the stubbornness and change something. But it revolves back to my initial point that if you're getting a 10th choice manager in, what do you expect? Like, you're not getting a top class manager. And again, no disrespect to Ange. Yes, he's won things in other leagues, this and the other. Premier League's very different. Tottenham is probably the most weirdest, different team in the entire Premier League. There's just something about it, the Spursy mentality, whatever it is, it's very different. So you have to kind of, throw all the books out the window that you've had for however many years you've been managing. Tottenham is a completely different kettle of fish. And that's not saying that we're amazing or anything, because we're not. It's just so different, everything about it. So you come in with that process in your mind to go, right, I've got to start a play, but I must have a plan B, I must have a plan C, even if it means that I'm not using my full first 11 here, or my proper first 11. I've got to do something different, because otherwise we get annihilated, or you're just watching us passing it around, nothing's equating to goals or chances, and the fans are just going to get annoyed. And before you know it, the Levy out songs will stop, and then it will be the Ange out.
What does a plan B mean? Does that mean going long? Does that mean having different way of attacking? Does that mean sitting in and counter-attacking? What do you mean by plan B?
All of it, Sam. Because you can read what the other team's doing. They make their substitutions, and you're like, well, they're changing it because their system's not working.
I've seen him change it. I've seen him change it before.
Yeah, he's been forced to change it.
Not enough. Nowhere near enough as he should be. And when he does make decisions or changes, you're scratching your head saying, well, why on earth did you do that? We were in a momentum in the game the other day. Okay, Maddison has a bit of creativity towards him. I think he was impressive when he came on and everything, like he usually does as a substitute. But you take Bergvall off and he's putting the passes in there, he's creating things, and you're like, why are you doing that? You're now putting Basuma on, who can't pass to the right team at all for the last however many games I've watched him live. And it's just little things like that, and you're sitting there going, well, there's youngsters there. And as I said earlier, it may not be the answer, but let's bloody try something different, please, because this is not working. And that's where I think the fans are sitting there going, what are you doing? But the loop around is always the fact that this is why I have a balanced mind about it, because I know the situation. I know the situation about the owners, I know the situation about the club in general, and I know for the fact that the players are not there. So you sit there, and in my head, I go to games in the morning, 3-hour journey there, and I'm like, I'm not expecting anything today. Because then I'm not disappointed, I'm not depressed at the end of the day. It's still, obviously, I'm annoyed when we lose, or the result wasn't there, of course. But it's that principle of I have zero expectation, because nothing's going to change. Nothing will change with the current situation with the players. Ange is not going to change a system. He's not going to change the players around to give them a chance to see if something different happens. And that might be to protect the youngsters, but equally I think it's detrimental to give them the opportunity to show what they're available and learn from that, because otherwise they're not going to learn, and we end up just bringing more nonsense, rubbish players in. So it's a continuous circle at Tottenham, the circus effect, I like to call it, that will just continue to proceed. So as I said, I'm an admirer of Ange in the sense I've seen enough when it was going well to know that there's opportunity there, and we do need to give that time with the right capacity of players, the fit players, and additional players. But equally, I'm also sitting there going, it's been probably 3 months, I would say, since we've had a proper team together. So you have to try and adapt that. not keep putting the same players on that keep making the same mistakes, who are, by the way, supposedly senior players, and just continuing in that momentum when we've got good academy players. Yeah, we put some on loan or whatever, but that's all we've got. That's all we've got. People might say, oh, is that the answer? Just put academy players. Well, I'd rather see that than watch Basuma. I'd rather see Dorrington in the back than watch Dragusin. Honestly, I couldn't believe it at the weekend. Right in front of me, I'm row 9, it's right in front of me, and he was 100% to blame for both those goals. Like, didn't slide in, didn't track players, and I'm like, well, I knew that was going to happen. As soon as the ball came through, I knew it was going to happen. And that's not just trying to pinpoint on one player. It's the exact point I'm making. That particular player is not working, put someone else there. Spence did a hell of a lot better job than he did. Okay, I'm not saying that's the answer, but there are centre-backs in our squad, in our club, even at a youth team level. Just put them in, because that's what most other teams do. But the frustration, I totally get it from all sides now. And as I said, if it keeps going, you'll get more and more people Ange out, and then the philosophy of the whole club, that everything just restarts again. And we're like, who do we get in now? Oh, the players we've got don't match that system. We need to change that again. Mm-hmm. I think what they've invested in already in the summer just gone, they're not going to, in my opinion, Levy's not going to revert and change a manager because he's already spent some money, or try and find a manager that can accommodate all of this. But who in their right mind, manager-wise, other than for the money, which we know Levy hands out left, right and centre for managers and likes paying them off for 18 months, 2 years later, who in their right mind is going to come in and go, I can't work with this, or I can see in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, this is going to be a problem. Jose had the same issue. We had some good games. 6 months in, all the players depleted, and he's sitting there scratching his head. These players aren't good enough. They're making passes all over the place. Same with Conte. So there is no real answer right now, other than being patient, hoping that Spurs get some players in, not stupid transfers. I'm talking about strategic, positional transfers, not just going, oh, we've run out of players in this position, let's quickly get some in, because what you're going to do in 3-4 months' time, when you've got about 6 players in that position, and they're all going to get annoyed with each other. So it's got to be strategic, and it's got to be patient. How long do you give Ange? Well, definitely till the end of this season. Let's see what happens with the Cups. You write the league off, forget it. Whether you turn up to games or not, like I do every week to try and support the team, is down to you. And I'll keep doing it, even though in my insane mind, I know that I'm not going to expect anything, and see what the Cups do. Do we give in the next window and go, right, what's Ange going to do in the first 6 months of next season with 11 amazing players plus 6-7 on the bench that are equally as good to come on? Are we going to get that at Tottenham? I don't think so. So what do we do is the ultimate question as a Spurs fan. All fans laugh at us. We as fans now laugh at ourselves. And now we're divided more so than ever before in this fan base. The division is palpable. Everyone's angry with each other. Everyone's frustrated. And I'm like, this is soul destroying to an extent, really, because you're like, you know what the answers are as a fan, but you're never going to see them. Who knows when we'll next see them? So what is the answer? That's my thoughts and feelings about the whole situation. As I said, I'm trying to keep a balanced opinion. I know what the structure of the squad is. I know what the club mess is. The recruitment has always been poor. It's been slow, non-strategic, and now we've got a manager who, in the right system, fantastic, but that system is failing because we don't have the proper quality players to accommodate it in an injury crisis. A normal manager, or a manager in today's modern world, would have an adaptation. It would change the system, it would change the style, it would change and it would change so many things. We don't go on the defensive. We're just all out attack, but that's not going to work when you've got ridiculous players.
But you have you would probably, if I offered you let's swap Eddie Howe in for Ange, you would probably say yeah, let's do it. But he also had the same thing last season, same scenario, and he had 9 defeats at this stage, and he was also going through the same thing. So
exactly. This is what I'm saying. It's balanced. It's balanced in my head all the time because I know things could be done differently, but equally there has to be a patience mechanism. all those fans that always like Levy out, this, that, and the other, they knew what they signed up to with Ange when he first signed on. Like, we all knew he was not the first choice, probably, and we got lucky in those first 10 games and it already switched people's mentality. Since after those 10 games, it's gone all over the place. But now fans are jumping on the bandwagon as if, like, this is a totally new concept that, oh, Ange isn't the right person. Well, majority of those fans that were against it all in the first place changed their mind slightly, a quarter of the way through last season. Now in a detrimental issue at the moment, it's like, well, what do you expect? What are you expecting from someone who is not your first choice manager and way down the list because no one else wanted to come? Like, what are you expecting? So if you have zero expectation, you'll be less annoyed with each other and yourselves and less depressed about the whole thing and just see how it plays out. Because that's the only option we've got. If you sack the manager now, who's going to come in? Potter, brilliant. Well, he didn't do anything at Chelsea, did he? He played in Brighton, who continued the system that they already had, because that's the development system that they had in the club anyway.
And he's just as stubborn as anyone, Potter.
Yeah, but then who other managers are in there? Then you're in another cycle. You might get a honeymoon period, but you're not going to get much out of this existing current squad as it is at all. Leading up to the summer, the league's written off already. What do you do?
Is this a good environment for a manager? Is this a sustainable environment for a manager where he knows that the club have to put a statement out saying that we're not going to sack him, like where the fans are really struggling?
Well, not quite. It was David Ornstein who said it. It wasn't quite the club putting out a statement.
It comes from somewhere, yeah.
But you said he's the most reputable source.
He is. Look, I know you guys. I know Sai has to go. Do you have to? How much time do you have, Sai?
I've got about 5 minutes.
Okay, I know, but I know, Brains, you got to go at 3. So I want to move on to a different topic still talking about Ange, but talking about the injury crisis. I guess we'll start with Sai because he has to go. He can probably give his opinion, but how much do we think? Huh? How much do we?
Tell us how you really think.
This injury crisis, when it comes to Ange Postecoglou, obviously we got 10 players out at the moment. On the weekend, obviously we had flu issues as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's put a lot of blame on this injury crisis as to why we're in the situation that we're in. But is it just unlucky that we're in this injury crisis, or how much blame do you put on Ange Postecoglou for why this injury crisis has happened?
Well, the injuries, most of the injuries have come from excessive running, that high press. I generally think our medical team in the club is poor. It always has been. I think, Gavin knows probably more than I do in terms of injuries. I've had my fair share, and there's always a common sense principle. Certainly with hamstring injuries in particular, you do not rush a player back, even if they say, right, it's going to take about 3 months. Add another month on minimum, please, because common sense-wise will tell you if you come back too fast or you're doing this intensive training, you're doing the intensive training because you're learning to be in an intensive system. So if you repeat that kind of injury more than twice, you will lose a substantial percentage of your ability in terms of running, your accommodation to get to places where you need to in the pitch in a timely manner. Yeah. So don't expect Van der Ven to be this fast for the foreseeable future, because each time this happens, you're taking at least 10% off his running. That's not just Van der Ven, that's to all the other players as well. It's like Richarlison, this and the other. The other side of it as well, I'm not a full pro physiotherapist here, but as I said, I've had my fair share of research over the last 20 years of playing myself, and the reasons why I had to stop from a pro level is when you have an injury, you start pushing that injury to other areas of the body because it's compensating. So when you come back and you go, oh, brilliant, your hamstring's fine, brilliant, mate, well done, jump back in. Oh, all of a sudden something else on the other side's gone. It's because of that exact same reason. So I'm sitting there going, not many other clubs have this issue where a player's out for 3-4 months, comes back and then injured again for another 3 months. So you're sitting there going, well, you've just wasted your transfer money on a player that's not playing, not available in the system that you want to play. What are you expecting? So Ange is partially to blame for that, but again, it's back down to Gav's point earlier, management. If you're winning or you're in a position to go, right, Van der Ven, come off, it's 60, 70 minutes, we need you for the next game or the next few games, let's do that. No, 90 minutes, high press, high intensity, what do you expect? So yes, he has a partial blame to it. So I think the ultimate factor is there was never enough depth. So bang on in the summer. Why would you be happy with? You could be happy with the transfers because they're good talents and they're opportunities for the future. Of course, it will build upon that. But you cannot be happy with the intake of players that came in the summer. It's not matching the output, so you're going to struggle anyway. And then you have, as a manager, you should be looking ahead, going right. September, cool, probably get away with that one. October, November, November, December looks very busy, and we've only got this many players, of which most of them are academy players. This, that, and the other. Let's try and work this season, the whole season out. The whole season needs to be worked on, not just game by game by game. So I think it's like a cauldron. It's a cauldron of chemicals that have gone wrong. Like, it's just a complete mess, and that's why we're sat in January. I'm not scratching my head. I knew this was going to happen inevitably from day one in this summer period last year to today. Maybe not to this full extent. The illnesses are what you can expect in December. That's always a natural occurrence with humanity. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just how it is. But yeah, that's an unfortunate add-on to an already bad situation. Could players sit there going, actually detrimental to the team, maybe I shouldn't go out this week or whatever, but we're all human, we should be allowed to do what we want when we want. So I'm not going to go down that route at all. So it's got to a point where everyone wants to point a finger somewhere because we're that pissed off about it. They want to point a finger at someone. The easiest option is going to be Ange, right? I will always point the finger higher to the hierarchy because if you look at the ripple effect and how we got to these situations, it always leads to the same person, the same people in the club. But that people go, he doesn't pick the team, doesn't that? Well, he does a lot of the things as the reason why we're in this situation in the first place. So I think everyone has to take the responsibility, and that's probably why, whether it's from Ornstein via the club or someone's inserted this information to say that he's 100% backed or he's part of the project, is probably because of that notion. There's the fact that if Ange gets sacked and we're without a manager again, once again, the third in however many 2-3 years, the fans are already on thin ice, or Levy, etc., are already on thin ice with the fans from those last few years. I think adding that to the equation pulls in probably a big majority of people who are never like, we must back Daniel Levy, he's a great person, this and the other, the club, etc. I think it will drag a lot of people across because I've seen that over the last 9-12 months. In our Portsmouth group, everyone was always like very positive about the club, but then more and more of this Enoch out stuff crept in, which is good to see it to an extent. I don't want any of that. I just want the club to be successful. I don't care who's in charge. I want us to see us win things. I want to see us play well. I want us to see us run correctly, but it's just not happening. So more and more people are going to come into this aggressive notion. You sit in their stadium at the weekend and many other games recently, you can hear a pin drop most of the time. No one wants to sing, no one wants to do anything because we're sat there going, we know what's going to happen, but the managers, the people don't want to change anything. So we're just going to have to sit here. We've spent £80, £110 for a ticket to watch this disgrace of a club that's going on at the moment. Our hands are tied because we're like, we want to come and support the team, not the regime, as they say. And it's just like, we're stuck now. We're all stuck. You can't change your team, I'm afraid. Like some people do, like Chelsea, Man City, they swap shirts every few years when things aren't going well, etc. But when you're given a team, whatever age you are, you're stuck with them. I'm stuck with Tottenham, of all the clubs. So thanks, Dad, for passing this ridiculous club to me down in generations, because now we're all stuck with it. And I can't do anything about it other than moan and complain. But the problems are there, and they're there for a reason. So you can get rid of Ange. I'm telling you now, in my opinion, that's not going to change one thing. The common denominator is always going to be there. So that's it.
So I understand. Do you need to leave, or because we're going to carry on for a bit?
I'll leave in 2 minutes because I want to hear the beginning of Gavin. But I'll say goodbye now. If I cut off, it's not because I don't like you, because I've got to get ready for rowing training.
Big up to you, Si. I appreciate your time as always. But Gav, I know you said, beginning of the stream, Ange created the context that he's currently complaining about. But do you have any sympathy at all for the injury crisis we're in? Like, do you think it's all down to him? Do you think it's, every injury has been completely avoidable, and he's to blame for all of it? Or, you know, is it not like a team effort with him and the medical staff, and he takes advice off the medical staff?
No, because what a football manager is, what a football coach is, someone who deals player to player, like with the squad and just on the grass. That's a coach. Ange is a manager. So Ange manages the football team, the overseeing of the medical department with his team. They give him reports week to week. That's what a manager is. So he will have known. Football players, by the way, are never going to come up to you and say, oh, it was a bit tight. They don't want to miss games. They think that they can run it off. They think, you know, but as soon as you get one, like Si was saying, as soon as you get one hamstring pull and you know how hard it is to come back, it's really devastating for the players' confidence, because they think, God, I don't want that to happen again. And so when they go back into training, if they're not built up and the load slowly built up so they can take it, and then you have to be given like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes in a gameplay, because game is so much more stressful, because you jilt and you know, it's different than training. Any kind of training is different. So if you're not given that properly, then your confidence will be screwed. And also you'll kind of like just not try as hard, because you just don't want to get injured again. And I've seen that in Mickey. I have seen it in him in the times where he's come back. He's definitely not been as what he could be, you know. So that's what's so, and Ange knows that. You have to understand that. Like, he knows that. At Celtic, same thing. He had hamstring injuries all over the place. Obviously here with
the second season they seemed to calm down a bit.
Yeah, but also look how many players they bought. Look how available the rotation was. He simply then got so many players, and he was able to rotate in game, make subs all the time. Here, he does have players. He did have players. He just did not believe in them. So in one point, he's saying, I want this. Let's go. We don't stop mentality. But you don't believe in that. If you had the belief in the whole squad, train the whole squad to be don't stop mentality. Everyone stays ready. Everyone comes on. Everyone rotates. You do this together as a squad. If he built that would have been the fix. He didn't, because he knew he was coming into Spurs. He was like, oh, look at this 11. He looked at this 11 when he came here and thought, yeah, that's fine. That's good enough. Not realizing, no, actually that 11's not good enough. Some of them are on their way out. You need way, way better quality players. You need, if you want to get anywhere near Liverpool and City on their pump, you need 2 11s who are as good as each other. And so we're so far off that. And he just does not believe in the 20 players we had, or the 17 top players. You know, he doesn't believe in them at all. You know, so he could have avoided this. I guarantee you, he could have avoided as bad as it is. So the one with Mickey, that's clear. We all saw it. There's no denying it. He made the decision to put Mickey van de Ven in. So if the medical team's saying, well, he's had no game time, he's not ready, he's like, yeah, well, we'll play him 75 minutes. It'll go before 75. What do you mean? He's not had 5 or 4 or 3 minutes. He's not had 10. It'll go. So it was a miracle that it lasted as long as it did. And then when he came off, he said to he said it was just precaution. As soon as Mickey went down, you knew, you saw it in his face. He was like, it's gone again. Players know, you know. So that was shocking for me. That was like beyond shocking. That was like, this happened last season. It's not like he didn't have, you know, data from. It's not like this is a shock. Last season we had no defenders. It happened. So he should never have gone in this season going, you know, what, am I supposed to have 5 defenders? Yes, you are, because look what happened last season. Look at the way you play football, the demands of your type of football, and the player that you've got that's now injury prone because of your type of football. 2 of them. Yes, you need more centre back. Actually,
we're not the only team to play a high line and intense, fast-paced football, are we? Like, how do these other teams kind of avoid the injuries? If you know, everyone's looking at Iraola, right? They want him at Tottenham. I'm looking at Bournemouth at the moment. They've got at the moment 4 muscle injuries. Tottenham have 6. So it's not like his teams avoid muscle injuries, is it?
Yeah, but you know, you can't say like bad management isn't. Ange isn't the only bad management. You know, like if that's your ideology and you're going to go for it, And you're not going to, because some managers have this idea of like, my job is to get them where I'm going. I don't care about their careers. Like, I just don't care about the careers. If Mickey van de Ven never plays football again, like, we have to bring in someone else then. I'll just play Archie Gray there forever. That's what he'll think. He won't care about the boy's career. And I see that in him. And that's the thing that drives me nuts. So the reason I'm Ange out is this stuff. It was a black eye when you allowed the club to sign Werner. It was suicide when you let them do it again. So for me, that was like, wow, like this is going to come back to really screw us over. And it has. And then eventually he gets angry with Werner. He gets so angry with him that he's pulling him off and he's dishing him out to the, it's like, wait, you knew this about him. We all knew his career was over at Chelsea. You knew this. And now you're going to get angry. So I've actually found Ange kind of pathetic at times and really naive and like a little child. It's like, I get that maybe you've not been at this level before, but like, by God, man, these are your mistakes. You can't now shout it at Werner. As long as he's your player, you have to have his back because you did this. You put a player who was dead confidence-wise, who was literally looking like he was ready for suicide in football. You brought him in. You wanted the romantic romance story of bringing Werner back to life, and you kept him for 2 seasons. And now look at him. Look at Werner now. He doesn't even want to chase a ball down. The commentary going, I think Werner could have got that. Why did he stop running? This is what we've got, Sim. We've got players in our team who don't want to play football anymore. It's so bad, and you can't look at that and go, well, that's just more unluckiness from Ange. It's like, no, we saw it. He couldn't get a game at Leipzig.
But I'm talking about specifically the injury crisis. Like, you think none of it is down to bad luck? I mean, obviously there are injuries, like the Vicario's
Not
injury.
When it's the same injuries. Not when it's the same injuries. Do you know what I mean?
So you're talking about the recurrence of the injuries.
Yes, yeah.
So when you've had Romero, Davis had a recurrence, Van de Ven, Richarlison, Odegaard, they've all kind of had recurrence of the same injury.
Yeah.
How much does the medical staff take responsibility for that? Like when can you not say they're definitely doing something wrong? Is it all on Ange just to make sure that injuries don't recur?
My physio actually knows a lot of the guys there, and I'm not going to say any names or anything, but he has told me that they do not have a super long career physio. They have a lot of young guys who are like managing parts of the squad, which is very bad because you need someone who's seen all types of things. You need someone who can bring a player back. But also the problem when you're a young physio who's straight from university, good results or whatever, but this is your first time in a pro club. Are you insane? So it's such bad management from the club on that side. They are not going to go to a pro coach in the Premier League and say, I'm sorry, but we're putting our foot down here. He cannot play. They'll go, a kid, a 23-year-old physio is going to go, I think maybe a long-running physio will say, no, if you play him, it'll go again, and then I'll go to my superiors and say that I told you and you overruled me. That's the big problem is we have young people. It's cheap young employees everywhere, in the club, and the social media, and the medical staff on the field, and you can't run a club that way. Just because it's cheaper, you can't run a club that way. So yes, Ange is getting screwed over because he doesn't have strong enough people around him saying, no, you can't do that. Even his coaching staff, nobody's going to say, Ange, this is nuts. You can't do that. You're insane. And normally, normally a big coach has someone he's known his whole career. You see Pep having violent fights with his assistant coaches on the side. You need people to say, you're fucking crazy. You can't do this. Ange doesn't have that. He doesn't have any good voices in his ear saying, maybe we shouldn't do this or maybe we shouldn't do that. So it's all on him. So that's where I feel a bit of like sympathy for him because he's come into an extremely more difficult league. He's got a lot of ego. He's got a lot of stubbornness. He's got a lot of naivety, and he's constantly being proven wrong. He's constantly saying an argument, and then weeks later having his argument thrown back in his face. He's constantly making decisions where he's going, well, I'm gonna we bought Radu. I'm going to back him here. Radu is tired. Radu's got the flu. I'm going to back Radu here. Radu has a nightmare. It's like, how do you not see that that's going to happen? Or have you not lived a long time? Like, this is life experience. You've got Alfie Dorrington there, who it's bad enough that he knows I'm not even getting a chance in this scenario. He's going for a right back over me. So that's bad for Alfie Dorrington. His confidence is gone. You throw Alfie Dorrington in there, we're going to lose the game anyway. Then if he loses the game, he can say, look, I had a player whose first time, he could say that then, and then everyone might understand. If he uses the youth, we will not blame the youth players. But if he doesn't use them and he uses like a first team player who's got the flu, you knew he had the flu. You can't blame the flu. You made the choice. So it's like, I hate this lack of taking actual responsibility. It's like, you could have avoided all this at the start. You could just find ways to train differently. You know what Sai was saying about come up with different plans and stuff? Actually, during a pro season, you can't really change too much. The only time you can come up with your game plans and your methods of training is actually at the start of the season in pre-season, because you don't have enough time on the pitch. You get two games, two training sessions, and they're not really training sessions. You really only get one ball training session. You get recovery, and then you get like leg work, and it's like dealing with the acid and stuff in your body. Like, it's not really tactical training. You get tactical video where you sit in a room and you talk tactics, but you don't really get to, say, if you go, okay, this game we're going to do this, and it's a whole different, you can't do that. So he's not really able to change at mass game structure. He could do little things, is what, when Stell talks about it, he's talking about little changes, little stuff.
But does he not do that?
He does, but he does it when it's got so bad that he has to do it. And then
you mean he's not proactive with it? You mean he's not proactive with it?
Like, it actually works when he does it, though. And it's like, oh my God, like we've all been saying this for ages, and he does it and it works. And then he doesn't do it the next game. He goes back. Like the City game, the way he had Davies and Radu, the positioning was deeper. They fell into the lines, the 5-4, and we caught them on the counter. Boom, boom, boom. Brilliant. And then the next game, it's like, just do that. And he didn't do it. He's like, nah, we'll go back to our crazy mental football. And he was like, all right, well, look, we get absolutely beaten by a nobody team. It's like, okay. It's just, that's what it is.